Guys, que pasa? What's going on here? What do I need to know?
Dr. Hirsch. He's really missed. Boston Medical Center and Boston and America. And the world lost a great person in his passing. But his memory and his values live on.
I think of it as ripples in an ocean. You don't always see them, but boy, are they there. And they project out long after one is gone. And that's really the true legacy, I think, of Dr. Hirsch. We are leaders in our field in trauma care because of Dr. Hirsch and his mentoring.
His support in advocacy of the tourniquets, long when people were saying, oh, tourniquets, you'll lose limbs, you'll do your patient harm, and he knew it wasn't the truth.
The tourniquet that Dr. Hirsch taught us to use, which is nothing more than Kelly clamps and latex tubing, has saved multiple lives.
There were influences of his care and his medicine on April of 2013. Boston Marathon.
We all still think about him and what he would do in different situations, how he would handle different patients, and that really translated into my current practice as well.
Probably the most important thing that he taught me about taking care of trauma patients and patients in general, that the key was to always keep the patient in the center of what you're doing.
I remember him sitting beside a patient's bedside that we thought was going to die. The patient had no family, and Dr. Hirsch sat with that patient all night long, making sure the patient was okay.
It didn't matter who you were or where you worked in the hospital. If you or your family needed medical care, he would be there for you no matter what.
He took care of my mother-in-law at one point when she was in the hospital, and he was just very personal with patients.
The traits that I remember most about Dr. Hirsch are how fiercely loyal he was to his friends and family, certainly, but to his family at originally Boston City Hospital and then Boston Medical Center.
And if you talk to him about his daughters or his wife or home life, he'd just smile, and a big smile will come over his face.
He was very so proud of the girls and very much loved his family.
He was very much the captain of the ship here. He had a naval background. He ran the service like a naval ship, and he let people kind of manage patients on their own, whatever. But ever so often, when he didn't agree with what you're doing, he'd say no, and he kind of steer you in the right direction. So he's very much like the captain of the ship.
Hirsch started the first time out. He would come into the OR during a trauma. It would be very loud, and he would say, "Time out, chaps," and he'll decide what was going on and what we would do to the patient.
One of my biggest memories is gorilla rounds on Friday, and how he would quiet us all down by, "Shh, guys, rounds."
He loved the nurses in the unit. He always called the unit the uterus because that was the place where they were taken care of.
Dr. Hirsch, when he would come up to the ICU, used to just look at me. He'd go, "Hey, kiddo." I'd pick my head up, look at him, and he'd give me the little finger. Like, that meant I needed to get up from whatever I was doing and go round the unit with him.
I distinctly remember his gorilla rounds or Hirsch rounds, sitting in the surgical intensive care unit as a second year and really being deathly afraid of what we were going to get into and what kind of questions we were going to be asked.
And for a surgeon, he had the strongest hands I've ever felt. He had a habit, if he wanted to get your attention or impress something upon you, to grab you right at the shoulder. And he would dig his thumb right here into you.
So Dr. Hirsch was always somewhere around the trauma room when we'd bring in a trauma, and boy, he was one of the first ones that would come out in the hallway and give us that background, or sometimes give us a impromptu lecture of like what we could have done better. And like I say, sometimes I left that hallway not feeling so good. As much as he was tough on us, he was always thinking about the patient, how we could do better.
He held us accountable. The bar was so high that you felt like it was never attainable, but you strive continuously and daily, day to day, year to year, to achieve that and to be the best that you can be. So I never worked so hard my entire life, and I never learned so much. And I'm honored and privileged to have had that experience to work with Dr. Hirsch throughout the year.
So now thinking of some of the Hirshisms that we've captured over time, he used to say, let's give this patient a Chernobyl sandwich down in nuclear medicine and see what we can learn.
I smell a rat. Let's call that ER.
True, and unrelated.
Just so that everybody's clear, we never, I repeat, never close to trauma. It'll be a cold day in hell that this place does not accept a trauma.
The only Hirschism I remember is the finger, where he would point and grab you, and then he'd ask you to read his mind. So it was always an adventure to do that. And that plaid jacket. Every Christmas he'd wear, and he looked like an elf, I'm sorry. And I used to tell him, oh, you got the elf jacket on.
Hirschism, piece of cake. What that meant was, no matter how difficult the issue, challenging, whatever, Erwin would take care of it, and I loved him for it. He was a doer and a thinker, great friend and leader.
I remember him most for the unbelievable support he gave to Boston MedFlight. He was always our champion.
When we had his first memorial here, we had this wonderful event on Moakley Green, and I have a picture right behind me of everyone coming to the event, but more importantly having MedFlight hovering above. And I remember looking up in the sky and I'm like, this moment is just so beautiful. You know, you wish he could be here.
How would Erwin Hirsch do today? What would Erwin Hirsch think about all these changes, both in healthcare and in the institution and in the at where we are in 2015? I'd like to think that he would look down on us and he'd be happy with the progress we've made and the care we're still delivering today.